Hello all you JRPG loving cosmonauts, as always I am Cosmic, and today we're going to be reviewing Regalia of Men and Monarchs, which is a new tactical RPG brought to you by Pixelated Milk and published by Clubator. It is an indie RPG with strategy elements, with resource management elements, and also some persona elements which I'll get into in a moment. The game's story centers around the city and realm of Regalia, which was once the Jewel of the Realms. It was destroyed during the Crusades, and you play Kay and his sisters, and you father on his deathbed tells you that you are actually the heir to the throne of Regalia and tasks you with going and rebuilding Regalia to its former glory and basically putting your house back into power. Upon arrival to Regalia, it is an absolute wreck. It's a rubble, it's a ruin, and not shortly following that fact, you realise that your house actually supposedly owes a debt collector an absolute fortune worth of money, and because you've returned to claim the throne, and you are now taking direct responsibility for that debt. So that's the premise of the title. Where that basically combines with the gameplay is twofold. Now, like I said, this game is a little bit of a genre hybrid, and it works really, really well. What you actually have at its core is you have turn-based JRPG style combat that works really well, and I'll get into that. Then you have a quest system that works like any good old dungeoneering indie game does, where you have hubs and you go from, hub to hub and dungeoneering, and then once you've completed that dungeon, that's that done. But then you also have this strategy element and base building element whereby you have to collect resources, build up the kingdom and the city once more, as well as a persona-style relationship element with the people that you come into contact with, so you can build up these relationships with characters who join your party and characters who are just in the city itself. And if you build up these relationships, you get perks and unlock abilities and get a whole bunch of bonus stuff that is a lot of fun. What this culminates into is a game that is not short for depth and content. For an indie game, it is actually surprising that I went through this entire game first and did not see all of the content that the game had to have. And you can actually play the game a couple of times and discover new things each time. So let's start with the combat itself. The combat is a turn-based combat that works from an initiative ladder. The great thing, what I really enjoyed about the combat was the fact that you don't have a turn cycle as you would in a traditional turn-based RPG. In most RPGs, you tend to have to use your movement points and then you have attack points. In Regalia, you don't have that. What you actually have is you're able to move and attack in any order that you deem necessary, and you also have authority points, which you can use a ability called Blitz to give you an extra point of movement or attack when you need it. What I really liked about that is it really opens up the strategy. What it means is that you can attack an enemy and then move away and really play the game to your strengths and try to cover the weaknesses as well as exploit enemies' weaknesses. I really loved the openness and the freedom of the combat. I liked all the abilities that characters are able to unlock, and they can morph abilities in various ways, including, like I said, the persona relationship system. And I really liked the fact that the combat was so open. It was a lot of fun. It could be a little bit slow at times. There were issues with the combat. The fact that you didn't have a base attack. I thought the combat was challenging at times, but there were other instances where it just was not challenging at all. I really hated the camera in the combat. The fact that you couldn't pan the camera was really irritating at times. But I have to say, as an overall combat system, I thought it worked very well. And that was really bolstered by the fact that each character that you're able to recruit into your party has their own unique set of abilities. You don't really have much crossover. They have their own unique play styles. And so it's really about forming this party from all of the heroes that you're able to recruit and playing to their strengths. They all play very differently. Some are, damage based, some are range, some are support, some are hybrid, so you get support plus melee attacks, support slash ranged. And I really loved the variety within the characters in terms of the character mechanics themselves. Outside of combat, the dungeoneering works fairly simple. Once you enter a dungeon or an area that is considered a dungeon, you have a number of instances or scenes, and within that you will have combat, you will have story scenes, you will have campsites, and you'll have areas of interest where you can collect items. And it's just about going from hub to hub and exploring and getting through that dungeon. It works very well, and I have to say that it's something that doesn't really do anything different than other RPGs that have that same mechanic, but overall it's a solid system that within the confines of this game and the setting works well. One interesting mechanic about Regalia is the fact that it's all timed, and it's timed to basically the debt collector. The debt collector will come a running for you every couple of months, and you have to be able to pay your bills, and you do this by completing kingdom quests. Now there are a multitude of different quests, including kingdom quests, there are side quests, and there are story quests, and it's a case of you have to basically meet a number or a quota of kingdom quests in order to be able to pay those bills. And traveling and doing certain activities like spending a day with your bodyguard to improve your relationships through the persona style system, that will take up time, and time is a very precious resource in Regalia, and I like the fact that it was timed. It ensures that you can't get through all of the content each playthrough, but it leaves you enough time to really, it never feels like it's rushing you. It gives you enough time to explore the world and do things that you want to do, and you do have to make choices within the story itself so that you will go down a certain route, so you may not even get all the characters in a single playthrough. And I have to say that that was something that I am a little bit dubious of timed mechanics in video games, because often they stifle rather than they do complement. But I have to say Regalia's time system was generous enough that it really did complement the overall atmosphere. It gave you a sense of urgency, it gave you a real sense of mission that you don't want to be messing around, hanging around with friends all of the time and finding out, really investing in those characters. You have to sacrifice, and give and take in that regard. So if you want to get your relationship up with a certain character, that is going to come at the expense of possibly doing that with another character, or it's going to come at the expense of not doing that side mission, or it's going to come at the expense of not doing that kingdom quest. So you really have to pick and choose what you want to do within the game. Now, touching on the story, I have to say that I really did enjoy the story. It was very nostalgic. It took me back to a time where I loved JRPGs and I played nothing but JRPGs. The writing and the voice acting, there's a good fair amount of professional English voice acting in the game, and I have to say that it shows, and it really does complement the game. The game doesn't take itself too seriously, and there are dramatic moments in there, but there are also a lot of wit and just general skits within the game that are very funny and well written. There are a couple of mistakes within the translation text itself. I did notice that there were a couple of spelling mistakes. Some of the writing can be a little bit cheesy at times and unnecessary, but I felt that for the most part, the story, the writing, and the voice acting all worked very well. Visually, again, the game gave me this sense of nostalgia for my love for JRPGs, and I absolutely loved the art style. I thought it was a really nice hand-drawn art style. The backgrounds were fantastic, the character models were fantastic, the animations were pretty decent as well. Fairly limited at times, but for the most part, I never looked at the game and went, that was bad, ever. And that is a feat unto itself. Coupled with the visuals are, of course, the audio. And the audio, again, was a really nice orchestral score that really, really put behind the visuals and the story some really nice moments. And it was a soundtrack that I have to say I enjoyed throughout. Never thought it got old, thought it got bad. And for the most part, it's a really solid indie title. For, $25, you're getting well over 30 hours of gameplay, plus the replayability, plus all the fairly in-depth mechanics in there, like the persona-style relationship system, like the combat, like the progression system, like the empire building. That is just not a bad package at all. Was it executed perfectly? No, of course it wasn't. But at the same time, for what it is and what it was trying to be, it is probably one of the most well executed kickstarted indie games that I have played in a very long time. I was not disappointed at all, and in fact I would go the opposite. I was pleasantly surprised by the quality in nearly every aspect of the title. There are of course things that could have been improved, that I felt that maybe should have been, niggled around a little bit, like some of the things in the combat could have been improved, like the camera and things like that. But I have to say, I wholeheartedly recommend Regalia of Men and Monarchs. I think it is a fantastic indie tactical RPG, and fans of JRPGs, fans of tactical RPGs, and just fans of a good time will really get kicks from this game. For a game that almost snuck under my radar completely, I have to say I am very pleased that it didn't. And that is my review of Regalia of Men and Monarchs. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, share the video on social media, places like Facebook, Twitter and Reddit, and as always, I will see you next time.